Hey guys, Keglagek Gaming again, and we're going to be doing Diaries number 2 today, and we're going to kind of pick up where we left off last time and move on to the next how to be a successful dungeon master, how to create successful stories, and meaningful RP in WoW. So, last DM Diary, we were talking about knowing your party, really getting to know them intimately, in character, out of character, what they want to see, how their characters are, how you can push their characters for growth, either morals-wise or in situations where they wouldn't normally be, and how much fun that creates. So today we're going to go a little bit more in depth with that, and we're going to talk about actually building the story. I like to call them campaigns, like you do your Dungeons & Dragons campaign, whether it's, the Day Without the Sun, the Darkest Night campaign. There's a whole bunch of different campaigns, and that's what I'll refer to them as. So if you hear me say campaign, I'm talking about your story. And so when it comes to making your story, this is the main draw. This is the main reason for people to show up. Not only do they get to put these characters in this unique situation that they didn't think they'd be in and grow there, but you get to tell a story, and if that's something that's intriguing to someone, or if it draws them in, it's a really good story. People are going to want to show up just to hear you tell your story and watch it unfold to find out what's next. You watch TV shows with cliffhangers. It's really good. It drops off. You can't wait until that next episode comes on so you can find out what happens next. That's what a good campaign should be like. So, my first thing I'm going to talk about when talking about campaigns is that they should span multiple days. Now, some people will tell me I'm wrong on this, and that's fine. You're totally entitled to your opinion, but I do not feel you can have good RP in a 1 or 2 hour session that has your whole entire story arc. My campaigns tend to last a month or 2 months. That gives your character a lot of time to experience the world, a lot of time to move, a lot of time to travel, and a lot of time to feel. So, disagree with me if you like. Here's my argument for doing a month-long, 2-month-long campaign. Now I'm going to explain it by showing one of the campaigns I recently did with this character. Her name is Tui. So, what we did was we had her and her sister, our Shadow Pan. Now, if you don't know much around lore around the Shadow Pan, I'll try and keep it brief, but important to note, you're not allowed to leave the Shadow Pan. If you leave the Shadow Pan, you're hunted down, you're killed, or various other punishments and things like that. So we want to try doing a story with a lot of danger in it, with a lot of morals and questionability, as well as a survival theme. We wanted to make it like, The Walking Dead, you're constantly scavenging for supplies and things of that nature. So, that was the basic story. Was the guild was hired onto this campaign saying, you need to transport these two Pandaren from point A to point B because they're hiding from the Shadow Pan. We need to keep it low-key, so try not to use magic, don't draw attention to yourself, keep to yourselves. And we were going to do a long, long walk. We were moving from Silver Moon City, and we were going to walk, and this is RP walking, so I don't believe in teleporting or anything like that. I'll get to that in a second. Walk from Silver Moon City to the Ghostlands, Eastern Plaguelands, over to Western Plaguelands, down to foothills, over to so we have the foothills, and then at the highlands, and then down into the wetlands, and then we were going to cut down into Loch Madon, over to the Badlands, or the Burning Steppes, and then go down into Red Ridge, down from there into the Swamp of Sorrow, cross Deadwind Pass, sneak around Darkshire, get into Stranglethorn Vale, and ultimately go down to Booty Bay. That is a huge undertaking. That is a long time. So here's my argument for why we wanted to RP walk instead of teleport. If you wanted to do this story in just 2 hours or 3 hours or 1 or 2 sessions just to do it, you would have to do teleportations, and it wouldn't be that fun. You'd start out meeting them here. You'd say, okay, let's open a portal to Stranglethorn Vale or somewhere near there, and teleport, boom, you're there, story's over, you haven't had a chance to do anything, maybe there's a fight, people are waiting for you there. It doesn't create an interesting story. You have no reason to want to show up if it's another day. Why do you want to find out what happens? You already know you teleported there. You know there's probably going to be a fight or something, and that's it. So the RP walking gives you a great chance, and I'm just going to show you the route we were taking as I go down the hills here. I've already kind of moved to the Ghostland or the Silver Moon. And so we gave them a wagon, and they had to carry the wagon, so one person had to push the wagon every single day. And if they pushed the wagon, then the next day they were exhausted. They couldn't push the wagon again unless their character, and I always believe in character comes first. If you believe your character could pull a very heavy wagon 2 days in a row without being exhausted, that's a DM call, and I'm more than willing to make it if you believe your character can do that. Like a Death Knight, of course, won't get tired, so a Death Knight can do that very easily. Besides the point, though, they had daily supplies. They could only carry X amount of food and X amount of water, and since they weren't allowed to use magic, they, of course, could not use mage food, conjure mage food, or anything like that. This meant that they constantly had to be looking for water, they had to be looking for food, and they had to be looking for shelter. As well as I'm a firm believer in using a little bit of time warping. This is, as much as I'll go into, altering the physical game from what it is, but obviously the zones are small representation. To get from Silvermoon to the Ghostland in-game would take days by foot travel, if not weeks. If you had a horse, it might be a little bit quicker. So when we were traveling, going through the Ghostlands, it might take 3 or 4 2-hour sessions. So each session begins, it's morning, everyone's waking up, making food, getting ready for the day. We get on our way. Halfway through the session, it'll be the first night, and people set up camp. They'll cook again. And what this does is having those multiple times where you see the day-night cycles happen is gives people a chance to interact with their friends and these people they may have never met in a whole new light. It's different to be walking around and teleporting through a portal with someone you don't know, but to have to sleep next to someone you don't know, or sleep next to the guild that maybe you're not as close with as you thought, or, there might be some bloodthirsty people or people you disagree with, and having to rely on them to hunt for food while you're sitting back at base cooking, it creates a lot of feelings, and it's a great bonding experience. If you want your guild to feel close, you want these people to get closer, nothing brings you closer like having to sit together in hellhole. So that's why I insist on the longer campaigns, because during this time they spent this campaign took us about 3 months to complete. So each week we would do 2 campaigns, so that's 8 campaigns a month, so 24 campaigns altogether, which made for about 40 days in character wise. That meant they spent over a month together, traveling, relying on each other, talking. And you'll find that people really take on, you get sick of people. You ever been locked in a room with someone or in a car with someone for 4 or 5 hours? You get sick of them talking. You get sick of their face. Just shut up. I'm done talking to you. Now do that for a month with some people, and you'll see there's hostilities. Friendships will born, or nemesis will be born. Things like that will happen. And it's a really unique dynamic, and that's pushing the personal story forward. But at the same time, I always like to also sprinkle in events. So the big campaign is the whole reason we're doing this, but of course it would be boring to walk from Silvermoon all the way down to Booty Bay without other things happening. So in each zone, try and make 1 or 2 little things happen. Either, you're ambushed by bandits, or you run into a feeble old man and he's got mysterious wares for sales, or things like that. It's all about constantly pushing new scenarios, new situations, and pushing that story forward. How are you going to react? What do the characters think? You're transporting deadly goods here. These people are on the run from Shadowpan. Do we trust the feeble old man? Do we talk to him? Or do we say, no way, old man, we're carrying precious cargo, so we can't trust you? And do you kill him? And do you live with those choices that you killed him simply to get your mission done because some of you are mercenaries? Those are the important events that you're going to have to go through that really build a character and make for an effective story. Now, the last bit I want to touch on is, before I also said your story should not be linear. It should not be everyone starts here, we go to the next zone, next zone, next zone, and then we're done, everyone wins, yay. There needs to be danger, and I highly, highly, highly suggest that you also include chance of failure and multiple endings. So if your people figure out that they will always win, that you won't kill their characters, that you won't, no matter what they do, they always get the happy ending, it becomes a boring story. Again, why show up? You know everyone thinks everything's going to be okay in the end. Everyone's going to be all happy and that you were successful. So for this campaign, I had about 50 different endings in store. And I just set parameters for failure. And the easiest way to do it was we had Tao and Tui, and they were the two Pandaren that were being transported. So, conditions for failure. If one of them died, and I fully let them, if there was an attack and they weren't protected, and they died, that's it, game over. Campaign is done, and you have to be able to say the story is done. You don't get to find out what happens next because you failed, and let their characters deal with that failure. That's an important part of story building too. You shouldn't always win. So if Tao or Tui died, instant failure, campaign over. If there was too much fighting or bickering or decisions couldn't be made, and the group looked incompetent or weak, the Pandaren would leave and say, you know what, this was a bad idea to join forces with you. We'll move faster on our own, and we can make our own decisions there. So if they were forced to leave or felt like the group was incompetent, weak, or unwilling to help them, or going to sell them out, they would leave. There were also a couple scenarios where bandits would attack, and if people died, or you ran out of supplies, they would have to be bailed out, and basically they would lose. There were parameters for failure, and I stuck to them, and by having those, every decision had a huge impact. There's no food left. Do we hunt, or do we risk running out of food and having to be saved and losing that parameter for failure and failing this mission? It created interesting stories, and it forced people to push themselves, even on their RP, push their characters, and think to new limits. How can my character's skills be used to find food? We're out here, and this all took place, of course, where I'm showing you now in the Plague Lands. There's no food to eat out here. There wasn't just fresh game to hunt. There's worms and plague hounds, so ultimately the party had to decide, you have this grub, can we eat it? Can we hunt that, and can we eat it, and can we survive? And those are the decisions they were forced to make on this campaign to avoid the parameters for failure. And so this is going to wrap up DM Diaries 2 about making an effective and drawing story. Like the key points I want to go back on, it should span multiple days. It should take a lot of time. It should have multiple events that force people into different positions. And there should be parameters for failures. You should never feel safe. You should never feel like we're going to win. Or you should never feel like there's no possible way to lose. So again, I'm Keglagek Gaming. Thank you for dropping by for DM Diaries. I don't want to be, a like whore or anything like that. But do drop me a like or drop me a comment. I want to keep doing these. I want to show more information. So please do leave me some feedback so I can make these better for you guys. I want to continue to help the community and give them some tools and resources to effectively push stories and make effective RPs. So I will see you guys next time. Again, thank you and have a great day.